One of the main themes in the text and in the course in general is built around the concept of causation. Causes are the mechanisms or reasons why an event occurs. As the text mentions, identifying specific causes can sometimes be very challenging. First, we will take a look at the causal logic that is present in nomothetic explanations. This is something that we have already been exploring in this course. The concept of variables, for example, lies at the heart of the system of logic for nomothetic explanations. Remember, nomothetic explanations are ones that attempt to identify a key number of operating considerations or factors in order to establish general laws or theories. In a quantitative nomothetic study, we are primarily interested in identifying the relationship between independent and dependent variables. This is something that you've already been practicing by creating a hypothesis for various online activities and phenomena. There are some important criteria for establishing nomothetic causality. For example, correlation is an essential component. The meaning of correlation is to change together. A correlation or association exists between variables when there is an observable relationship between them. If we observed in our research that older research participants report using Facebook more than younger participants, we can say that there is a relationship between our independent variable, age, and our dependent variable, time spent using Facebook. As it turns out, timing is everything when it comes to establishing nomothetic causality. Specifically, this means that strictly speaking, the independent variable should precede or happen before the dependent variable. In social science research, this can be a difficult concept to work with. Our Facebook example is fairly straightforward. It is clear that age is determined before the dependent variable. Our age gets set down when we are born, and so in this case, it is clearly the independent variable because it comes first. As much as I would like to think that using Facebook less would make me younger, it's just not going to happen. A third criteria for nomothetic causality is something called non-spurious authenticity. This sounds pretty fancy, but it really just means not phony or fake. Something that we think of as having non-spurious authenticity is something that is genuine or real. I like the example given in the text. As it turns out, there is a relationship or a correlation between shoe size and math ability. Larger shoe size is associated with an increase in math ability. Does this mean that I can perform math better if I have big feet? Well, no, there's something else going on. Obviously, people get better at math with more education, and people with more education tend to be older, and they tend to have larger feet. The correlation of math ability with shoe size is an example of a spurious relationship. This is where control variables come into play. Control variables identify the context for the relationship between independent and dependent variables. Using the shoe size and math example, we see that age is actually operating as a control variable. It is affecting both of the other variables, shoe size and math ability. We will spend more time with the concept of control variables later in the course. The text lists some false criteria for nomothetic causality on page 88. Complete causation refers to the concept that in reality, nomothetic explanations are probabilistic and incomplete. For example, if we observe a relationship between age and number of Facebook friends, this doesn't mean that all younger people have less Facebook friends than older people. The fact that there is a relationship refers to the tendency of younger people to have less Facebook friends, but there are exceptions. On the flip side of this point is the concept of exceptional cases. This means that if you observe that a younger person in your research actually has a larger amount of Facebook friends, it doesn't mean that the overall relationship isn't real. In the words of the text, exceptional cases do not disconfirm an overall causal pattern. Another related false criteria for nomothetic causality is that causal relationships can be considered true even if they do not apply in the majority of cases. Check the text out for the example covering unsupervised children and the likelihood of them becoming delinquent. Another consideration is the difference between necessary and sufficient conditions. Necessary conditions are ones that must be present for an effect to follow. For example, if you want to graduate, it is necessary that you take courses. The courses are a necessary condition for obtaining the degree. Sufficient conditions are ones that guarantee that a result will occur. The example from the text is that not taking an exam is a sufficient condition for failing the exam, meaning that if you don't take the exam, it is guaranteed that you won't pass, even though there are other ways to fail an exam, like not studying. I do find this distinction to be a bit tricky sometimes, and I don't want to get too bogged down with it in this video, but if it's something that you're interested in, just reread the section on page 89 very carefully. The text also has a section on causal logic and ideographic explanations. There's a lot of ideas covered in this section, but I will just focus on the concept of analytic induction. I don't want to downplay the importance of this section, but do want to make the point that this is something that is covered nicely in Communication 202. Analytic induction is a process for understanding events that relies on grounding concepts using empirical observation and progressively sharpening them through iteration. Again, this is an incredibly important and valuable section in the text, but I won't spend too much time here because this is covered in other courses. The participation outcome for this lecture video is the online discussion for Session 3, Effect and Cause. As usual, find your section for Session 3 and follow the instructions from there.